Bueno, muy buenas tardes. Estamos muy contentos en lo que ha sido una jornada más de esta reunión tan importante sobre movilidad. Hemos escuchado una cantidad inmensa de ponencias, de propuestas y elementos que nos inquietan a todos los técnicos que trabajamos los temas tanto locales como nacionales. Nos toca a nosotros, y hoy día a mí en particular, primero que nada agradecer a la organización de Zoom Bilbao 21, en mi calidad de secretario ejecutivo de la Asociación Chilena de Municipalidades y también coordinador internacional del Consejo Consultivo de la Federación Latinoamericana de Municipalidades, de FLACMA. Muy contentos de esta invitación y por supuesto muy agradecidos. También muy agradecidos y muy contentos de estar acompañados acá de María Luisa Burga. María Luisa es la gerente de la Gerencia de Movilidad Urbana de la Municipalidad de Lima. Ella es ingeniero civil y ha estado en los temas de movilidad y especializándose en los temas de movilidad, María Luisa, por lo que tú nos contabas hace mucho tiempo. Así que eres una experta en los temas de movilidad y sobre todo de tu ciudad, de tu linda ciudad. También está con nosotros Sergio Baños Rubio, él es alcalde de Pachuca. No tenemos el gusto todavía, alcalde, de conocer su comuna, pero nos iremos a México a conocerla. Y él también, como alcalde en México, ha estado también muy vinculado a los temas de movilidad de su ciudad y tiene ejemplos y proyectos muy importantes que queremos conocer todos. Y en el tema que hoy día ya...
One of the things we also have in this hybrid format Carlos Cadena Gaitán. He is the former Secretary of Mobility of Medellín. He's also a university professor and he's an expert in mobility. So me as a moderator, I have to set the rules. So the protocol for this meeting is that we are going to focus on your expositions at the beginning, and then you've got some presentations, I think, and later on we'll be able to talk a little bit about these topics. Well, I think that Sergio and Maria Luisa, there are some things that are very relevant as it regards to mobility. Well, I'm not using the face mask because I think we've got enough social distance to avoid using it, and we hope that the new normal is going to arrive very soon. We have to order and organize the questions relating to governance linked to mobility. Everything having to do with sustainability, climate change. We've heard a lot this morning about this, and these things have to be interlinked. Governance is also one of the pillars supporting our idea of mobility. Co-governance with the central government, different positions, the education and coordination between or among different governments. The organizations, the social organizations, social community organizations. Well, there's a module which is also very interesting to relate mobility with governance and the stakeholders of governance. Sergio, Carlos, and Maria Luisa, we will also talk about how to articulate or how you think from your experience. You've been able to give a new life to citizen participation, the emergency that we have right now, because it seems to be something really significant in municipalities, in local governments. So we are going to give the floor to Maria Luisa, and she's going to make her presentation. Thank you so much, Jaime. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the invitation to this conference. It's really grateful for me as a leader from the urban mobility in the region of Lima. And it's a great pleasure to be able to present the projects we've carried out since 2019. To be honest, this year has been very difficult for everybody, but we haven't stopped in our work. We've continued with our commitment to work with the citizens of Lima. We wanted to continue cooperating with the central government to make some improvements regarding urban mobility and sustainability. I would like to thank Jaime and Sergio. My name is María Luisa Burga Cervera, Manager of Urban Mobility. Our significance is to organize, plan, carry out these projects regarding or related to the regulation of traffic, both in the cargo transportation and particular vehicles, so that we can adapt the spaces within the Metropolitan Lima to recover the public spaces surrounding urban mobility. What am I not talking about public transport? Well, in 2018 in Lima, the Authority of Urban Transport was created, and we are talking here about the public transport, the conventional transport, the school bus, the taxis, the tourist buses, etc. So since 2018 up to date, we are only devoted to the cargo transportation and small vehicles. Our goals start from the improvement of the transitability and accessibility of vehicles and pedestrians. So we are committed to plan proposals in this regard, and later on I will show you the actions we've been carrying out. We are also committed within our actions and the improvements we've made to reduce the travel times, to diminish the probability of accidents in transit, and we want to work together with the central government and the users themselves. And we also want to have a sustainable urban mobility. We, as a local government, are committed to the users, and we want to have this relationship between them and us as the public servants. One of the first projects, which seems to be very positive, is the conversion for in pedestrian works of the city center of Lima. We want to give citizens an improvement in the public spaces, and we also want to improve the quality of the air quality. And we are thinking about these special years we've witnessed, and we want to give a positive approach to pedestrians and cyclists as the main stakeholders in urban mobility. We started in 2019 to remove the traffic from the center of the Plaza de Armas, the different streets and places in the city center of Lima. And this way we've made possible that everybody can transit in a safe way. We've also reduced the maximum speed limit because the activities carried out by transportation are related to businesses, so they need sometimes to unload and load goods. So we've been able to reduce the speed limits. We've got a 23% increase in the presence of pedestrians, and we've been able to integrate the pavements. And we've been able to do this in different parts of our historical centers. And we've reduced the vehicles transit by 60% in the city center. In 2021, we've been working in a bigger scale, and we've been able to improve the pedestrian ways. We've also improved the lighting, and this is related to the ornaments we want to give our citizens. We started with a master plan with a goal up to 2035, and we want to promote the recovery, the sustainable recovery of this part of the city. Here we have the different works we are going to carry out and how we've done it till now. This hasn't been this hasn't been something really direct, but it's been step by step. And we've got, for example, the Plaza de Armas, where we've got the municipal palace and different buildings and different malls, and all these have contributed to the way in which the citizens feel these places. We've also planned different activities so that pedestrians and cyclists can really enjoy these spaces. Under the approach of the traffic education, which is also related to urban sustainable mobility, we've carried out different strategies, talks, capacitations, virtual events. And here, for example, we've got a picture of one of our traffic fantastics, and we want them to be in different districts of the capital city. We've got 43 districts in the Metropolitan Lima, and we've been able to establish a relationship with other districts. So our traffic fantastics appear to sensitize different people. This has also invited other districts to join our campaign, and this is something carried out in special dates and so on. We've also carried out school campaigns for children and teenagers, and we think it is really important to do it at home to stop accidents and to save lives. Within the different accessibility improvements, we have this intervention in this crossroad. We've got here one of the most important hospitals, which is the Hospital del Niño Hospital, and the only way we can access it was through the pedestrian bridge you can see there. It was very difficult both for children and pregnant women, people using a wheelchair. So it was very difficult to transit here in a safe way. So as the municipality of Lima, we carried out a project for a flow of vehicles and pedestrians, and we created an integral project including different people from the managing board, and we made this adaptation, this road adaptation. So from the Hospital del Niño, we've put some traffic lights. We've adapted things for people with disabilities, different signaling. Now there's a time saving, which is something positive for people getting out of the hospital. We've also been able to enlarge the ramps and a new path for pedestrians, so that pedestrians can transit in a safer way. Within our projects and within urban sustainable mobility, we've got the projects of cycling paths. There are some projects that have been able to, with these bicycle lanes were started with 197 kilometers, and this was something that was done in an immediate way because we knew how to do that, and we wanted to provide with these infrastructures to those people using the bicycle. And I have to say that there has been an increase in the use of bicycles in our city. It has increased by 19%. Within the pandemic, we had an increase of 5%, but the pandemic really helped us a lot in this sense. But it also gave us a lot of work because we were able to promote infrastructures so that the user could use other means of transport, not only public transport, but also the bicycle, for example. A plan within our work is the possibility to recover these public spaces. It is important to know how the different users are working in the transportation of goods. And it's important to be able to generate this integral working plan, action plan, so that we can promote economy that has really decreased due to the COVID situation. So we really want to recover the public spaces in a well-organized way so that there's no interference with the traffic rules. And we are also carrying out the maintenance of the roads under a maintenance plan, generating possibilities for the projects we want to carry out. The problems are that we are occupying the spaces in the public space for pedestrians, and the measures we've considered include the enlargement of those areas allowing loading and unloading of goods, declaration of some rigid areas, spaces
formen parte de esta
where they also make part of this recovery, and a managing system allowing everybody to cohabit. We've got a very important way, which is the Green Coast Way or road leading to the Pacific Ocean. And we've seen the mobility for pedestrians going to the beach was really difficult. So we created these projects of pedestrian bridges that are accessible so that our neighbors in Lima who want to go to the beach can do it in a safe and accessible way. So here we've got the opening of one of these spaces. We've got elevators. We've got touch screens. We've got lanes for cycling. And this is the significance we've given to the pedestrian mobility pyramid so that everybody can transit in a safe way and in a well-organized way. This is one of the significant aspects that we have with the interaction with the citizen, is that our common or shared work, because within our service we've got the traffic inspectors, and they, among their functions, they can generate this transitability in the roads, and to avoid drivers to break the rules or anything that is respectless in the city. So we've got this work of the transit inspectors. They also serve as transit or traffic police officers, and we've generated this project together with VIPA since 2019, and we've got access 24 hours to videos of some rules that haven't been respected. So they're connected to us, and the citizens are connected to us because they are the ones recording these video clips. If they see that someone is not using the road properly, or if someone is throwing rubbish, etc., so they can upload these video clips for 15 seconds. We monitor the situation, and finally there is a penalty for the person who committed this offense, for the offender. So the neighbor is recording the offense, and we've generated in this shared work is that there are increasingly more users wanting a better place to live in, and they are collaborating with us, not only civil servants, but the citizen is also committed to have a better organized city. So in the end we have this penalty, and this is done by the tax service. This is a shared work, and we've been able to generate it in a linear way, and our achievements is that more than 114,000 citizens are committed to the traffic rules. 75% of efficiency of the reports that we've sent. There are some offenses that have been eliminated. So there's a percentage of reduction of mistakes, and then 70% of reduction of vehicles that are not well parked. And well, there are also quite a big amount of penalties that have been sent. To finish, our commitment as the municipality of Lima is that to have this relationship between the local government, the citizen, and the central governments, because part of them also help us to continue generating these improvement projects. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias a María Luisa.
Thank you so much. Luisa Elena. There are a few things that are very important. You've mentioned a very important experience in Lima, and you work with the central government and coordinating and so on. And I like what you said about the connection with the citizen, because this is something we must absolutely do, otherwise we won't be listening correctly to our society. And of course, some questions are raised concerning the importance of pedestrians, these contradictions between traffic and commerce, and awareness raising, like you said. All these education campaigns, training campaigns are fundamental. And another very interesting thing you mentioned in Lima is the recovery of the public spaces. We've seen it in the city of Bilbao in an extraordinary way. So thank you so much, Luisa Elena, for this very interesting presentation. I would also like to present Sergio Baños, friend and mayor of Pachuca. He knows about the Pachuca infrastructure and quality service. You have the word.
Aquí. Con la sana distancia, si me lo permiten.
With our safe distance and with your permission, I'm going to take off the mask. I'm very glad to say hi to you all. Hi to everyone following us via streaming. And I'd like to say hello to the mayor of Bilbao, my colleague. It's a wonderful city, a wonderful country, and lots of affection also to the members of the panel here today. Thanks to the moderator for presenting us, and I would also like to salute my colleague Luisa Elena from Lima, and also our friend Carlos in Colombia. I am Sergio Baños Rubio, mayor of the city of Pachuca since 9 months. In the town hall, we are working very intensely every day to try and meet the challenges of the different problems that our city faces. And we keep working to try and find solutions for the complex situations left by the previous administrations. The city of Pachuca is only 45 minutes away from the capital. The north, very developed city with a good projection. And as far as mobility is concerned, we will soon inaugurate the new airport of the city of Mexico, Felipe Ángeles, which will be only 20 or 15 minutes from us, which will attract investments, growth. And it's important to say that because we will probably have more regional trains because the city is close. The urban infrastructure concerning mobility will be very interesting to face or to meet the demands of Pachuca. The task ahead of us is important, and something we need to focus on in Pachuca is working intensely on things that the society has been demanding for a long time now. Not only in our city, but in many areas of the different Latin American countries. We lack the necessary urban infrastructure for disabled people. I think that cities grew with not such good schedules or plans. Our city is old with a mining tradition and the streets are small. We don't have a big infrastructure. We didn't think that the city would grow as much as it has in the present. And in the administration, we are now working to prioritize pedestrians and bicycles. This is something we must face in our city, and we will be working on this to try and increase the bicycle lanes and to improve things for pedestrians, including, of course, disabled pedestrians. And we must redirect correctly the traffic in our city. This is something we really must work on now. In the administration, we focus on three main axes that will help us improve our infrastructure. Our infrastructure must be sustainable, it must adapt to the needs of the citizens, and of course, we must have a 100% inclusive government. We said it loud and clear that the pedestrians must be at the core of all our actions. So we must improve the lanes for pedestrians and the pedestrian roads. Tourism, sports, and family leisure are very important for us. These are things that we can develop and improve. In our government, it is now our turn to start working hard because we are facing a very complex and complicated situation due to the pandemic. I think this has been the most difficult, the longest pandemic we've had in human history, and as an authority, as an administration, we must suggest good public policies in order to develop businesses and commerce. We are also working on shared bike systems with a bank that's betting on cycling mobility. They are working very intensely. They have worked very intensely in the city of London. So we are now working with them so that they cooperate with Pachuca as well. I think we are on the good track to have a public shared bicycle system. This is our next project. I would also like to let you know that we are carrying out a very specific analysis of areas with social conflicts where we have had security issues. And we are trying to recover those areas. We have a very interesting place called Parque de Cuitos, where we face social and safety issues, and we are trying to recover those areas through sports, through culture, and the name of our project is Rehabilitando. And we need to work through games for families, through an efficient lighting in the neighborhood, and we hope that citizens will participate. I believe today governments cannot do things alone. They need to be backed by everyone, by the whole society. So society, the government, private sector, and businesses. If we add all these parts, I am certain we will be able to move on and everything will work perfectly around the clock and the results will be magnificent for our society. This is a co-participation. We said that responsibility must be for the government, but also for citizens. We must work hand in hand and follow the same goals. We think that the citizens must be involved, as I say, in Pachuca, and they must feel that they belong to our administration. I think this is very important to improve mobility. And the environment, of course, that's key as well. We all see the important issues we face now concerning climate change. And Pachuca is no exception. We've also suffered floods, as we've seen in other countries. And that's why I think we must all work in order to support the environment using renewable energies and betting on greener mobility, a different mobility. And in the Hidalgo state, they are also betting on the electric units assembling. We have a company called Jack, where 100% electric cars are assembled, and we are very proud of them. They're Mexican. We will keep working on that, fostering the biopharma cluster. We've talked about it previously today. That's very important. And the automotion cluster for automobiles. And this is where we need to work mainly. In the Mezquital Valley, we also have a huge opportunity because that's the best place for photovoltaic energy investments. And we'll need to work on that as well. As I was saying, as I said before, we are working on different projects. Here you can see a city in Pachuca City. This is an emblematic street. And this is a trail that we are trying to recover with a new design where families can have leisure time, they can cycle there. Pachuca City has only 25 kilometers of bicycle lanes, but there's a growing demand of this kind of lanes, and we'll need to do something about that. We've also adapted public spaces through signaling, through a more inclusive government or administration. And we are creating spaces for leisure. We've carried out pilot tests in order to close some main streets, main avenues, so that they are more family-friendly, more pet-friendly, or sports-friendly, because this is what our citizens are demanding. The city of Pachuca is very much committed to the fauna. We have a biopark, and wildlife is very important for us. We are hosting animals coming from circus, malnourished animals. And there they can rehabilitate, and then we send them to nature again. This is the historical center of Pachuca, also emblematic. The monumental clock. It's some sort of copy of the Big Ben. And the machinery inside is 500 years old. We've recently been working in launching a cultural change. This is the most important thing to do now. We are working on educating people. As you can see there, this is a family that's crossing the road at the pedestrian area. But we can also see that other people are not doing it. They're not crossing at the pedestrian crossing. And this is a shift we must achieve by educating children. And we've seen that then, when we manage that, children educate adults. We are also training policemen in Pachuca so that they can in turn educate and inform the population as to how to cross the roads in a safe way. We are also carrying out architectural projects, trying to create bicycle lane islands, as we call them, where people can move on a bicycle safely. Like we said before, today's mobility must be inclusive, accessible, and safe for all. And here we have another project, the Louis Pasteur Park, where you can see what we aim at, the changes we'd like to implement. With this new project, we are knocking at the federal government door, where we've been supported, and I'm very thankful for that. And we have a wonderful governor. This is his 5th year, Omar Fayad. He's one of the first governors of Mexico Republic that has made such a big work concerning infrastructure, mobility, health, and other things. And we got all his support to face very timely the issues we undergo in Pachuca. And we expect to be able to launch all these projects soon. So we bet on a public bicycle system. And like I said, we will work in order to educate and create this culture. In the past 9 months, we bet on sports, healthy leisure for families, and in the future, we expect to have an inclusive and equal transport for all. These are some images of our present projects, where we have been working very intensely, and we carried out over 10,000 government actions. And of course, mobility won't fall behind. We expect to have very good results in the short terms. We have a 4-year term, so we are only starting. Thank you very much. And a big hug to all our friends following us by streaming. And again, thank you to the panel.
Muchísimas gracias, alcalde.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And, well, I'm sorry, as well as Luisa Elena said, I'm sorry before I was calling you Maria Luisa, I'm sorry for that. Well, there are some things that I found very interesting. The impossibility to have an inclusive model against climate change, and something very interesting you said, the animal mistreatment, which is something to be very significant nowadays. So these things are very ad hoc to the current situation. Thank you so much, Sergio, for everything you've done. Of course, there was a very central point, which was the accessibility for people with different capacities. This is something that is already happening, also in Lima and in many other places, and I think this is very important and very interesting. I think that we already are connected to Carlos Cadena, in the city of Medellin in Colombia. Can you hear us, Carlos? Carlos, can you hear us? How are you, Carlos? Well, Carlos, I had already introduced you as an expert in everything related to mobility. You were in charge of mobility in the city of Medellin, And I think that you are going to show us a presentation about governance, which is very interesting nowadays. And this is a very important question in this multi-level governance strategy. So, Carlos, you've got the floor, and I'm happy to say hello to the city of Medellin. Well, I have to tell you that I've been connected from the very beginning, so I had the opportunity to listen to the presentations by Luisa and Sergio, and I would like to thank them for the presentation. And I think it's really important what they're doing, and thank you so much for that. I would like to apologize. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there with you. I really love the Basque Country, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, I couldn't go. In my family, there was a COVID crisis, so I decided to stay with my family. So I want to give power to everybody. But anyway, in a virtual way, I'm going to share my presentation with you. And I would also like to thank the team you've created. So many people that have been interacting with me to make this connection possible. I'm going to talk very shortly what the multi-level governance means. And I'm also going to talk about a more friendly and more coherent city with the climate change. So we're going to talk about cities that are built among all of them. A city always has something for everybody only if it is built among many people. So I want to recall something that we all know. We know that the climate crisis is the biggest threat to our planet. So we've been reminded very recently that we human beings are the ones that have caused this crisis. And we are at a point, at a non-return point, and we are going to witness several catastrophes in our lives. For those of you who have children, I have a 1-year-old daughter, and we know that in the next 30 years, they will be able to see some catastrophes in our planet coming from that, arising from that. And the governance is part of these processes. What we were saying before, and what Luisa and Jaime were saying before, and Sergio, we all make part of this governance, but there are some pictures that remind us of historic events. So regarding our threat, well, I can't see your hands, but if there is anyone recognizing this picture, can you raise your hands, please, if you recognize this picture? When did this happen? These kind of pictures are not usual, because usually the leaders of the states don't usually sit to discuss things related to climate change, as happened in the COP in Copenhagen, because they saw there was a crisis. There wasn't any agreement between the technicians working there. Politicians didn't want to sit to discuss. Lula, for example, was drinking some water close to President Obama. So I want to remind you, already Luisa and Sergio did it, but cities are part of the climate crisis, and they are also part of the governance, allowing to reduce the gases emissions. What do we talk about when we talk about governance and climate change? Well, we talk about the literature that science theory has taught us that we need governance schedules that are effective to be able to face the climate crisis. For example, in the IPCC report, we see that multi-level governance in the climate change is a facilitator of the system transformation. So we need better governance systems. We need to understand how we can connect the different municipalities, secretariats, with the media, citizens, the professors, civil servants, so that we can make some progress in programs, projects to face the climate crisis. This is the city of Medellin. As Jaime said, probably he already, well, Jaime, do you know Medellin? Well, and I think that some of the people who are here have been in Medellin or have read about Medellin. If you haven't, I will send you an invitation. Carlos, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it seems that you are not sharing your presentation anymore. We are not seeing your presentation. Some of us have seen it in paper, but we are not seeing your presentation anymore. Is it possible for you to continue sharing? Are you seeing it? No, we aren't. No, but it's white there. I thought you were seeing it. Well, I'm going to reload it. Well, don't worry, because I'm not going to start from the very beginning.
Estoy volviendo a cargar.
I'm trying to reload it. Well, these are the technical issues we have to face now. Well, I was thanking the team, the technical team, and all those people who helped me so much. No, we can't see it, unfortunately. Well, anyway, you were very clear in your presentation, so you can continue talking. Probably you can continue without your graphics, but we were really paying a great deal of attention to your words. No, I think we can't see the image. It seems there's a problem in Medellin. Well, it seems that it's my internet connection in Medellin. But we can hear you very well, so you can continue. So I'm going to continue without the presentation, okay, without my slides. I was showing you a map because I wanted to remind you more or less how you see this map of Medellin. And there you can see that there are 10 connected cities. The 10 cities are totally connected and they've got their autonomy. Each city has its own mayor and government, and this is something that happens a lot in many places in the world. So to be able to have better efficiency conditions, we need schedules allowing us to coordinate the decision making and also how national decisions come to the local level, and that we have enough spaces to share these decisions. This is what we are referring to when talking about the multi-level governance, both at a local and state and national level. So I wanted to give you some examples of these. Well, you can't see the images. I sent them yesterday. I don't know if you can show them from there, but anyway, I'll try to explain them orally. The first example I wanted to share with you has to do with the metropolitan situation north-south. For example, move on a bicycle. I always use the bicycle, and the cyclists in this city really wanted to connect the city north-south, and that meant that we required an infrastructure that allowed us to connect it, and this required the metropolitan governance. We needed some infrastructure to be able to connect that, but at the governance level, okay? So we were able to design this axis north-south together with the citizens, with a direct participation of the cyclists in the city. The example I was taking in the map was a scale of the project, which is really huge. The second example was regarding the urban area, which seems to be the first in Latin America. And I ask those people listening to us to bear this project in mind, because this is something you can implement in your cities if we want to fulfill the proposals, okay, regarding the climate change. If we want to fulfill the Paris Agreement, these kind of things have to be implemented. These are low emission zones, and in Spanish we call it zona urbana de aire protegido. So in the center of Medellin, in a central polygon in the city of Medellin, we have the first low emissions area in our country, so that it is much easier to reach this area using the public transport or the bicycle or walking, and it is more difficult to get there through the individual transport. So we want to attract the mobility, sustainable mobility, and put far from us those we don't want. So for those people who want to use a motorized individual transport system. So we want to be more attractive to those we want to reach, and less attractive to those we don't want to reach. So there's this low emissions area and zone. And I also had an example of the construction of the eco district. This is a global decision that is called common but differentiated responsibilities of the agreements of the UN on the climate change. These kind of things can be used in your cities. The nationally appropriated mitigation actions. These are actions arising from international funding that allow us to have access to funds that may help in countries such as Colombia, Peru, or Mexico to develop specific projects with international funds. So what we did when we participated in NAPA was to deploy the first eco-district. This is a very local scale, but allows for international perspective because it comes from international funding. So we hope to reach 7% of bicycle trips that used the motorized vehicle before. And the last example I was bringing has to do with life, with the big question: what's the ethically acceptable number of deaths in our streets. This number is always 0, no matter where we are. The acceptable number is 0. And to get there, we have to transform everything. We have to transform the design of our streets and roads, the way in which we behave, the decisions we make regarding the speed limits, the use of technology. And we also have to transform the multi-level governance so that we are coherent with our plans, programs, and projects. We were very controversial last year in Medellin because we made the decision to change what the most dangerous road was in our city. This was the most dangerous road, and we wanted to change the speed limit. We wanted to reduce it from 80 to 50 kilometers per hour. This was very controversial. And there was a big deal of pressure on the Secretary of Mobility. But we continued with that. We had the support of the mayor, and we were able not only to reduce to 0 the number of deaths in our roads, but in that road, but we were also to reduce by 40% the number of incidents, of accidents, people having injuries for life, using wheelchairs and so on. We were also able to keep the speed constant. So this was like magic. So I invite you to think of these 0 deaths vision in your strategies. When we were talking about elevated bridges, we thought that this was not coherent for pedestrians or for people using a wheelchair. We decided to start disassembling elevated bridges, but this was very controversial too, because this was making people go to the level of the vehicles. And this meant that we had to stop vehicles for some time to allow the flow of people walking or using a wheelchair to be coherent with the universal accessibility schemes. So this is the end of my presentation, but I wanted to invite you to something. The planet, the crisis has to do with the climate crisis, and this is the biggest challenge of our generation and of our species. So we really need climate governance and multi-level schemes to reduce all that, and we are still on time. Thank you so much. Thanks, Carlos. I think we only have 6-7 minutes. I would like you to answer some questions if you're able to. Okay, and later I will give the floor to Luisa Elena and Sergio for their questions. The first one, what's the significance of the data management in the management of governance? Can you give us a summary of your answer? Well, without data, we are not able to make any decision. The main principle in a effective governance schedule is that decisions are not dictatorships decisions anymore. That is something that used to happen in the 70s in Latin America. There were decisions that were made at the top level and then implemented to the lower levels. Decisions are made in a shared way and they are coordinated. And we are able to project these decisions on different stages. If we don't do that, we are not able to progress in this kind of decisions. In Medellin and in other places in Latin America, we've been able to understand this. We need open data so that citizens know and have access to the data, and they can also make proposals and discuss about the decisions that are made by the government. In mobility, we've been able to make a big progress thanks to that when we open discussion to the citizens, so that they can also be part of the decision-making process and make their own proposals. And I think that we are going to be increasingly more able to make common decisions, even from our smartphones, and so that we can generate data in a more comprehensive way. Thank you so much, Carlos.
1 minuto y medio cada uno por los temas.
Maybe we have just 1 minute for each, because we're running out of time. So the COVID crisis had a big impact on habits, not only as far as mobility is concerned, but also as road security is concerned, or road safety, which is very much linked to culture as well. What do you think about this? Very, very briefly. Yes, thank you for your question. We in Lima, in the Mobility Directorate, we take into account road safety. And our aim is to have 0 accidents at the road. After COVID, we started with awareness-raising campaigns through the media, through the social media, and also for kids at school. And in Lima, every Sunday, we have activities with messages in the different newspapers, with crosswords and so on, teaching the rules to the kids. We also work with teachers. And during the COVID pandemic, it's been very important to have on-the-field staff in our roads, in our streets. These, like I said before, are awareness raisers who carry out different activities according to our databases and are there informing the pedestrians, drivers, cyclists through messages with signaling, like I also showed before, teaching them how to cross roads correctly and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, Luis Elena. And Sergio, if you could just mention a couple of ideas concerning data and road safety as well. In Pachuca, we carried out many actions to support COVID, and we invested, we funded an ambulance that was equipped to support patients during COVID. And through a platform, we've been working hand in hand with the Hidalgo government so that we could identify the different issues, the areas where we had more transmission of COVID, so that we could tend to all these families at the same time. And we've been working with the health department to face this delicate situation. We also created an inflatable hospital in Pachuca in very few weeks, again with the Hidalgo government. And we did it in an area that's very well connected so that all citizens could drive there very quickly. Because unfortunately, this crisis had many social, cultural, and educational impacts. We see that today kids cannot attend schools yet due to COVID, and we hope to go back to normal soon with all the safety measures. And of course, in Pachuca, we are committed to working to rebuild a safe city for all. Thank you very much. And thanks to the organization, to the Bilbao city, to all of you being here. And unfortunately, we have a schedule to follow, and we must put an end to our workshop. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Sergio, Carlos, Luis Elena, for your interesting presentations. And hopefully we can now walk around this beautiful city, which is a mobility example for all. Thank you very much for your attention.